I'm Christy Bilbrey. After working in a Senate press office, the White House, and corporate, I started my own business and realized none of those experiences taught me how to market myself. Thankfully, I discovered how brand storytelling and strategy could help me easily connect with others, promote my services, and grow my brand. I created the Business That Story Built podcast to help business leaders strengthen the stories we tell ourselves and the stories we tell others. Ready to take your mindset and messaging to the next level? Let's get started. Welcome back to the Personal Brand Series. This is the final episode of the series. It's also the final episode of the series within a series, which is brand storytelling. And if you haven't checked out the other two episodes, you will probably want to do that because this is what's going to kind of tie them up with a bow. Today, we're talking about brand story strategy. So with brand story strategy, before you even get into all the fun and all the little details of the stories that you share and the way that you share them, I want you to think about why you share them so that you can share them the most effective way to grow your brand faster, bring in clients faster. That's always my favorite thing when I am helping clients with a podcast or with any part of their PR, and they are coming to me so that they can make personal connections with their audience at scale. And I hear somebody who I didn't even know just bypassed my whole normal system and just said, I heard you speak and I know that you are exactly who I'm looking for. And what you said shows that you're the expert and that you understand me. I want to work with you. Isn't that the best when you just have people coming to you saying, I know I want to work with you. I heard you speak somewhere. So I want that to happen for you. Let's break that down. Let's start talking about strategy for your brand stories to really solidify your personal brand and your thought leadership. The very first thing, and I talked about this in the other episodes in this little mini series, is start with the end in mind. Know your goal. And before we even know the goal of the stories that we're going to share, I want you to think about your business. I want you to look at the landscape. What is it that you offer? And what is it that you know that your competitors do or don't offer, or how they approach things that you feel like, I'm unique, I'm different. I want you to start thinking about what that is. And if you're still looking around for that, this is a good time to see what are the gaps that are out there and how would I respond differently. So start to think about how you set yourself apart and then really get to know your audience. So if you don't know a ton of people who would be ideal prospects, start to go to events or join groups online and find out what types of questions are they asking? What concerns do they have? What types of expertise are they looking for that they don't have? And those can clue you in on their pain points. Those can clue you in on their desirable outcomes that you might be able to help them with. And just take note of those. Really start documenting, what do people care about? What do they struggle with? What do they really want? And just what's more about them? Do they tend to be in this geography? Do they tend to work in this industry? Are there any different distinguishing characteristics about your ideal? Some people call it an ideal customer profile, an ICP. I a lot of times will call it a buyer persona. So you want to make sure you're speaking in all of your stories and with your brand, you're speaking to this group of people who care about what you offer. There's usually a few things at least that you'll find they have commonalities. It could be a cause, something they believe in, something that matters to them, that matters to you. So you need to start looking for those to make sure that you develop the right strategy. You want to know what next step can they be expected to take. So when people are just getting to know you, they may not be ready to immediately sign up and work with you. So you need to think about what's realistic in the types of stories that you're going to share. What's a realistic next step that someone could potentially hear you once or twice and say, okay, do you have a free download? Is there something of value that you can offer them? And you want to make it really easy for them to take a next step with you to get to know you more. And then you just kind of continue that journey. A lot of people will go online. I feel like things have shifted in terms of funnels. And a lot of times somebody won't show up at your door until they're pretty much ready to buy. So you want to offer things that can educate them along the way when they're Googling something that they need, right? They want to get educated on a decision that they have to make or something that's coming up that's impacting their industry, whatever it is. You want to make sure that you know what's going on and that you're in those conversations. Okay, so that's kind of business strategy overall, but that really plays a part in your communication story and in the stories that you're going to tell. Because if they don't relate to what they're looking for now, what's absolutely important to them now, they're just going to scroll right past because there's too many other things that they have to take care of. So you need to be relevant to your audience. You need to not just share great stories that help them get to know you that don't really have to do with what they care about. You need to make sure that you know what they care about. And something that I like to share is it doesn't really matter if your life experience has been dramatically different from the people that you're trying to relate to. If you have a universal emotion, I've used this before, I'm sure I'll use it again, is the example of an astronaut who wants to relate to stay-at-home moms. And that universal emotion could very easily be isolation. It could be loneliness. It could be feeling like you're doing a thankless job. Those are all things that will connect those audience. They resonate with that. They don't want to feel that way. How do you help? How do you understand them? How do you help with that? So whatever it is that you offer, you need to tap into that universal emotion that will draw your audience to feel like, okay, this person gets me. Because if they don't think that you understand where they're coming from, they're not going to feel like you necessarily have the right solution for them. They want someone who really gets them. And that's what your stories need to accomplish for you. So you need to think differently about maybe some of the stories that you're telling and make sure they tie back to your brand, what differentiates you from others. And the other thing that is really important, once you have your strategy, you know who these people are, you know who you are, your differentiating characteristics, then you're going to start to find these stories, something that is easy to do when you start thinking about, oh, this would be a great story to tell. This would be a great story to tell. You want to keep your stories simple. And that's for several reasons. One of those reasons is people don't have a ton of time. So you want to make sure that you're able to captivate them and keep the story moving. Something that is used with authors is killing your darlings. And killing your darlings sounds horrible, but it just means if there's something that you have in that story that doesn't help move the story forward to the next piece, then you want to get rid of it because your audience is going to get distracted. And we all know there's too many things going on our phones and in life. If you get distracted, they're probably not coming back. So you want to keep it simple for that reason, to move through those steps. And I would highly recommend that you check out the essential rules of storytelling, of brand storytelling. If you haven't already listened to that episode, I walk you through exactly what that should look like. Another reason you want to keep your stories simple is because the best stories, word of mouth is huge, right? Word of mouth marketing. So if somebody hears your story and it really resonates with them, chances are they're around other people who are like them and they're going to say, oh my gosh, I just heard this person, or I just found this person, I just listened to this podcast. They need to be able to recount enough of that story in, playing telephone, for those of us who are old enough to remember that it doesn't, the message stays clear. So you want to make sure there isn't too much going on, that they're really easily able to share. Here's what the person is about. Here's where they were. Here's what happened to them. Here were these changes. This is what they were able to do. And it's so cool. Listen to this transformation. Listen to what they're doing now. I think this is so cool. We should check this out. So they need to be able to remember enough of your story, keep it simple enough that they can repeat it. And it's okay. You do want to share some descriptions. You do want to help your story come alive and help people picture it. just don't get too carried away on that part. Or if you do, make sure that it's plainly obvious when you're going from one point in your story to the next. So even if they can't remember all those details, they remember the bones of the story. And then the next part of strategy that I want to talk about is, where should you share these brand stories? I'm so glad you asked. There's so many places that you can share them. This should be part of your strategy, by the way, when you are coming up with stories, to think about who needs to hear this and where do they need to hear this. But in general, here are some ideas of places you can share brand stories. Your about page on your website is perfect place. Social media posts. Now, that gets into a little bit of a tangent with, you can share pieces of stories throughout different social media posts. You don't necessarily have to go through the entire story in every post, because people may scroll through your post to see different snippets of the story. But that's another great place for storytelling. Email marketing. Again, that's a great place where people have already signed up. They want to get to know more about you and how you help people. So weaving in some simple stories into those are great. Blog posts, same thing. You're not just sharing the information, you're sharing how it relates to you, how you see this differently, and the way that it can impact them. Also, if you are, including media relations in your strategy, and you have articles, you have interviews with journalists, then a feature article for sure. You should weave in stories. And then if you are getting interviewed by journalists, specific experiences, again, they're going to want you to keep it simple as well, but specific experiences that can share your expertise in a very clear way that their audience can understand, that can be great. I was here, this happened to me, or I was here and saw this happen. I was working with this person and, they shared this is exactly what happened. So because of that, I do this, or I make sure I don't do that. People need to watch out for that. Just little ways that you can incorporate simple stories. On podcasts, oh my goodness, I love podcasts. I love helping people in every way possible with podcasts, because they are such a powerful storytelling platform. People love podcasts because they can learn new things. They can hear all kinds of experiences from cool, interesting, different people, and it opens their minds. And yeah, it's a phenomenal storytelling medium. So if you're not a podcaster, maybe you should consider it. More and more brands, it's becoming almost expected that you have a podcast to disseminate information to your audience. If you aren't able to be a podcaster right now, I highly recommend podcast guesting, because all you have to do is show up, answer the questions, and you're able to take advantage of all the hard work that podcaster has done to grow their audience, and you can tap into hundreds or thousands of potential prospects with your stories and your expertise, growing your thought leadership, growing your SEO. It's wonderful. Okay. Moving on, in videos, that could be on your website, that could be on YouTube, that could be social media. There's onboarding, if you have employees and you want them to learn about the culture of your company, not just here's our list of values, but here's why we have these values. This is why we have this mission, because this happened and we wanted to respond and do something differently. Or this person was a part of bringing in this value. Here's why it matters. Here's how it's played out in our business. There's so many great places for videos and storytelling. Keynote speeches. Okay. This, for any thought leader to have an effective keynote, you need to have excellent stories that are crafted very well, because it's expected that you are going to come from a high level. You're going to keep the pace where it needs to be. There's going to be a reason for it. You're going to know the different pieces, how to flow through them so that it can really, electrify an audience and inspire them. That's what they're looking for. And that's what people get paid the big bucks for with keynote speeches. So those are several places that you can start to think about where you can plug in your brand stories to help grow your brand, grow your business, even word of mouth. So even people who aren't necessarily clients giving referrals, it's just somebody who heard you share your story and they're repeating that story with someone else who may come to you. So I hope that you have really enjoyed the personal brand series, that you've enjoyed learning more about brand storytelling, which is a big part of personal branding. And I know that this has really been intended to be an overview. So if you do have questions, how to personalize your brand, how to humanize your brand, how to tell your story, which of your stories might matter, I would love to help you with that. You can always reach out to Christy at christybilbrey.com. And until next time, this is The Business That's Story Built. How are you growing your brand? Are you targeting the right people, developing the right relationships, and consistently getting the visibility and credibility that you need to grow your business? Whether you need a plan that's small or large in scale, our PR firm and consulting services can design and implement what your business needs to grow. To schedule a free call and learn how we can partner with you, email Christy at christybilbrey.com. That's CHRISTIE at CHRISTIEBILBREY.com.